Breaking news exclusive for Viking Nation. 5 earth-shattering revelations just exploded out of Egan that will send shockwaves through every NFL front office and prove once and for all that the Purple Revolution is here to stay. A brilliant financial strategy worth hundreds of millions has positioned us perfectly for a championship run. Our homecoming trade just became the smartest business move in franchise history for reasons nobody saw coming. An undrafted rookie quarterback earned a stake, ultimate honor that reveals everything about his character and future. A legendary safety might be available for practically nothing using a genius loophole we've already mastered. And a veteran defender quietly joined our ranks in a move that could pay massive dividends when injuries start piling up across the league. Each of these bombshells proves that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and this front office are operating on a completely different level than every other organization in the NFL. And if you think the Minnesota Vikings are just another team trying to compete, you're about to discover why we're actually building a dynasty that will terrorize the NFC North for years to come. Viking Warriors, prepare yourselves, because what you're about to hear will make you realize this isn't just another season. This is the beginning of our conquest. And it starts with a financial masterstroke that puts us light years ahead of every franchise foolish enough to think they can match our roster. Construction brilliance. But hold on, as shocking as that is, the next update cuts even deeper, because what J.J. McCarthy represents to this organization goes far beyond just being a talented young quarterback. And Kevin Seifert just revealed an absolutely genius strategy that proves why the Vikings are smarter than every other franchise in the league. ESPN's analysis dropped a bombshell that should terrify every team in our division when he explained how Minnesota used McCarthy's rookie contract to assemble the most expensive and talented roster in recent memory, committing roughly $350 million in cash to the 2025 roster with 10 projected starters who have been named to at least one Pro Bowl. Think about the chess moves this creates. While other teams are paying quarterbacks $40 to $50 million per year and scrambling to fill holes with bargain basement players, we're paying our franchise quarterback peanuts and using that savings to build an absolutely loaded roster that rivals any team in NFL history. The additions of center Ryan Kelly, defensive lineman Jonathan Allen, and Javon Hargrave in March alone represent the kind of talent acquisition that's only possible when you have elite quarterback play at rookie contract prices. And this is exactly the window that separates championship organizations from pretenders who waste their opportunities. The irony that Seifert points out is perfect. So much still comes down to McCarthy's performance, but he's surrounded by more talent than any young quarterback could dream of having, which means his path to success is practically guaranteed. If he can execute at even an above average level, Sam Darnold showed us exactly what's possible when you put competent quarterback play behind this offensive line and surrounded by these weapons, leading Minnesota to an unexpectedly strong season that set the bar for what McCarthy needs to achieve. But here's what makes this strategy absolutely brilliant. This is often the best window for championship runs, because rookie contract quarterbacks who can perform at a high level unlock salary cap possibilities that simply don't exist once they get their second contract. Are you ready to watch McCarthy take advantage of the most talented supporting cast any Vikings quarterback has ever had? Can you imagine the terror in Aaron Rodgers' eyes when he realizes our entire roster is more expensive out in most teams' starting lineups? This $350 million investment isn't just about winning games, it's about creating a championship window that our division rivals literally cannot match because they're paying their quarterbacks elite money while we're getting elite production for pennies on the dollar. The front office has basically created a cheat code for roster construction, and every other team in the league is about to find out what happens when you combine elite talent evaluation with perfect salary cap timing. And just when fans thought it couldn't get crazier, here comes the next bombshell that proves the Adam Thelen trade wasn't just a football move. It was a business masterstroke that extends into areas most people never even consider, and Tyler Fournette just explained why this might be the smartest public relations move in franchise history. Yes, bringing Thelen home gives Kevin O'Connell immediate continuity in his offensive system and provides J.J. McCarthy with a receiver who already has chemistry from their offseason, throwing sessions at local high schools. But the genius extends far beyond what happens on Sundays. The Vikings didn't just acquire a 35-year-old receiver on an expiring contract. They orchestrated the perfect homecoming story that will spike merchandise sales, bring dusty Thelen jerseys out of closets across Minnesota, and create the kind of emotional connection with the fan base that translates directly into revenue. Streams! Orness nailed it when he pointed out that people who are relatively agnostic about the team were genuinely excited about this move, because human nature makes everyone love the prodigal son returning home story, and that emotional investment drives everything from ticket sales to television ratings to social media engagement. The compensation might seem hefty for what they gave up, essentially a compensatory 4th round pick, but Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is playing chess while other general managers are playing checkers, because he understands that the NFL is a business first and winning is just one component of maximizing revenue. Think about the intangible value Thelen brings beyond his route running and red zone targets. He's a walking embodiment of Minnesota values, a player who literally had a $500 scholarship to Minnesota State Mankato and worked his way into becoming a fan favorite for nearly a decade. The timing couldn't be more perfect either, because with Jordan, Addison serving his 3-game suspension, and Jalen Naylor's injury status uncertain, Thelen provides immediate veteran leadership and reliable hands exactly when McCarthy needs them most. But the business angle is what separates this from being just another roster move. This is the kind of public relations home run that builds lifelong customer loyalty, creates positive media narratives, and establishes goodwill that extends far beyond football. Are you already planning to dig out your old Thelen jersey for his first game back in purple? Can you imagine the emotional explosion when he scores his first touchdown back at US Bank Stadium? This wasn't just a trade to help the offense. This was a calculated business decision that will pay dividends in ways that never show up on the stat sheet, but absolutely show up on the balance sheet. But that's not the only fire burning inside this franchise. The next revelation is even more explosive because it showcases the kind of character and leadership development that separates championship organizations from mediocre ones. And Max Brosmer just received an honor that proves everything you need to know about his future with this organization. PJ, Black awarding Brosmer a game ball after Minnesota's season opener wasn't just a nice gesture. It was recognition of the profound impact he had on developing redshirt freshman Drake Lindsay during his transition from college to the pros. Black's post-game comments revealed the depth of Brosmer's character when he explained that Max never led by being cool. Max led by the work, the sacrifice, the discipline, the dedication, the leadership. And that approach showed Lindsay exactly what it takes to succeed at the highest level. The fact that Brosmer showed up to the game wearing a Drake Lindsay jersey and celebrated in the locker room like he was still part of the team demonstrates the kind of selfless leadership that Kevin O'Connell and this coaching staff value above everything else. Think about what this means for the Vikings quarterback room. While other teams are dealing with ego clashes and veteran players who resent younger competition, we have a backup quarterback who actively mentors college players in his spare time and whose work ethic is legendary throughout the organization. Brosmer's emergence from unknown UDFA to 53-man roster player over established veteran Brett Rypien wasn't an accident. It was the direct result of the kind of preparation and dedication that Fleck described. Spending extra time after practice throwing passes and maximizing every single opportunity he got during training camp. His best college strength was throwing across the middle with anticipation, which perfectly aligns with O'Connell's offensive philosophy. But what makes him special is his approach to pressure and his understanding that pressure makes diamonds in competitive athletics. The quote he gave after the preseason game against Tennessee reveals his mental makeup when he talked about looking at the logo on his chest to remember who he's playing for and with. That's the kind of perspective that championship organizations need from every player on the roster. Are you excited to see what happens when Brosmer gets his first regular season opportunity? Can you imagine the confidence boost it gives McCarthy knowing he has a backup who approaches the game with this level of professionalism and preparation? This isn't just about having depth at quarterback. This is about having the right kind of people in your organization who elevate everyone around them through their work ethic and character. And that culture is exactly what separates dynasties from teams. That wastes their talent. Stay with me, because what comes next will flip the script in ways nobody predicted. And it involves a potential acquisition that could solve one of our biggest long-term questions while using the exact same genius strategy that brought us Daniel Jones for practically nothing. Jabril Peppers was just released by the New England Patriots despite being one of Pro Football Focus's highest rated safeties. And Tyler Fournette just outlined how the Vikings could acquire Harrison Smith's potential successor for the absolute bargain price thanks to contract offset language that we've already mastered. This is the same brilliant maneuver we used with Jones last year. The Giants were paying most of his salary while we got his services for just $127,000, and now we're projected to receive a compensatory 4th-round pick that essentially made it a free acquisition that actually improved our draft position. Peppers was due $4. $5 million from the Patriots, but offset language in his contract means New England will likely cover most of that salary if he signs elsewhere, creating the perfect opportunity for Minnesota to add elite safety depth at minimum cost while evaluating him as Smith's long-term replacement. At 30 years old, Peppers might seem like an aging veteran, but safety is one of the few positions where elite athleticism and instincts can extend careers well into the 30s. And his ability to crash downhill fits perfectly with Brian Flores' aggressive defensive schemes that often deploy 3 safeties in big dime packages. Think about the chess moves this creates for our defensive coordinator. Having Peppers alongside Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson would give Flores the flexibility to call his most exotic pressure packages while knowing he has reliable veteran coverage behind the blitz. The best part about this potential move is the risk-reward ratio. If Peppers thrives in our system and becomes a key contributor, we've found Smith's successor for practically nothing and can focus our draft resources on addressing the cornerback position that desperately needs attention. If it doesn't work out, he can potentially help us recoup another compensatory selection for the 2027 draft while costing us only the veteran minimum for either active roster or practice squad placement. This is exactly the kind of creative roster management that separates Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah from traditional general managers who only think in terms of big money free agent signings and high draft picks. Are you ready to see Peppers making game-changing plays in a Vikings uniform for a fraction of what other teams would pay? Can you imagine the depth and versatility our safety group would have with Smith, Metellus, Jackson, and Peppers all available for Flores' creative defensive packages? This potential signing represents everything that makes our front office special, identifying undervalued talent, exploiting contract structures that other teams ignore, and building sustainable competitive advantages through superior salary cap management. And listen closely. The next chapter is the kind of news that proves depth and preparation win championships. Because while everyone's focused on star players and big moves, smart organizations are quietly adding veteran experience that pays dividends when the season gets physical and rosters start getting decimated by injuries. Kevon Wallace quietly joining our practice squad might seem like a minor move to casual observers, but this 5-year NFL veteran represents exactly the kind of insurance policy that championship teams build throughout their rosters. Wallace brings 71 career games of experience across 6 different organizations, which means he's seen every possible defensive scheme and situation the league can throw at him, and his 168 career tackles prove he can contribute when called upon. The beauty of practice squad additions like this is that they're always one phone call away from joining the active roster, and if Harrison Smith's personal health matter affects his availability, or if injuries hit our safety group, Wallace provides immediate veteran depth that doesn't require weeks of learning the system. His resume shows the kind of journeyman reliability that smart teams value. Philadelphia Eagles from 2020-2022, stops in Arizona and Tennessee in 2023, Seattle in 2024, a brief stint with the Giants, and now Minnesota in 2025, which means he's constantly adapting to new systems and proving he can contribute wherever he lands. At 5'11" and 205 pounds, Wallace fits the athletic profile that Brian Flores values in his defensive backs. and his special teams experience could prove crucial as the season progresses and teams need reliable coverage specialists who can also step up defensively when needed. Janik Eckart's analysis perfectly captures why moves like this matter when he points out that Wallace's career path mirrors how Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson developed in our system, starting as depth players who earned larger roles through preparation and performance. The fact that Wallace made 28 years old in July means he's entering his prime years for a safety, and his experience working in different defensive systems could actually be an advantage when Flores wants to implement specific packages or adjustments throughout the season. Think about what this means for roster construction. While other teams are scrambling to find veteran depth when injuries hit, we're proactively building insurance policies throughout the roster that cost almost nothing but provide invaluable experience when chaos strikes. Are you impressed by how thoroughly our front office thinks through every possible scenario? Can you see how having reliable veterans like Wallace available creates confidence throughout the organization that we can handle whatever adversity comes our way? This signing might not make headlines, but it's exactly the kind of smart depth building that separates teams who sustain success from organizations that collapse when key players get hurt. And if this week felt like watching a masterclass in roster construction, what's coming next could be the moment when everything we've discussed, from the $350 million investment in elite talent around McCarthy, to the brilliant business moves that brought Thelen home, to the character development showcased by Brosmer's recognition, to the creative salary cap management that could land us peppers, to the smart depth additions like Wallace, all comes together to create the most complete Vikings team in decades. Think about the perfect storm brewing in Minnesota right now. We have a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract surrounded by more talent than any young player could dream of. A coaching staff that maximizes every player's potential through superior scheme design. A front office that operates like chess masters while our division rivals play checkers, and a culture that attracts the right kind of people who elevate everyone around them through their work ethic and character. The Bears think Caleb Williams can compete with this level of roster construction, but they have no idea what it's like to face a team that has invested $350 million in surrounding their quarterback with Pro Bowl talent at every position. The Packers are still living in the past thinking Aaron Rodgers' decline in arm can overcome the systematic advantages we've built through superior roster management. But wait until they see what happens when McCarthy has more weapons than any Vikings quarterback in franchise history. The Lions are convinced their offensive explosion last season was sustainable, but they're about to discover what happens when they face a defense coordinated by Brian Flores that has the depth and versatility to counter every single thing they want to do. This isn't just optimism or hype talking. This is the mathematical reality of what happens when you combine elite talent evaluation, creative salary cap management, smart business decisions, character-based roster building, and coaching that maximizes every advantage into a single organization. Every move we've discussed today proves that this franchise is thinking 5 steps ahead of the competition, that our leadership understands both the football and business sides of building sustainable success, and that our roster has the depth, talent, and character to handle whatever challenges arise. Throughout a championship season, the $350 million investment isn't just about this year. It's about establishing a foundation that will terrorize the NFC North for the next decade while McCarthy develops into the elite quarterback we know he can become. If you believe the Minnesota Vikings are about to embark on a dynasty that will make Packers fans emigrate to Canada, smash that subscribe button and join the Purple Army that's taking over the NFL. If you think Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is the smartest general manager in football and these moves prove we're building something special, drop a comment with your boldest prediction for how many division titles we'll win in the next 5 years. And if you're ready to watch this organization prove that intelligence, character, and strategic thinking always triumph over flashy moves and overspending, hit that like button and help us build the most dominant fan base in professional sports. Because what's coming next isn't just another season of Viking football. It's the beginning of an era that will redefine what it means to build a championship organization in the modern NFL. And every team that thought they could compete with us is about to learn why the purple and gold represent the future of professional football excellence.